Welcome. We're going to go ahead and begin, but we're just going to start with just sitting for a moment. You want to find a seated position that's comfortable. Giving your whole body a few nice deep breaths here. You can place one hand on your belly and place one hand on your chest. Just feeling these spaces in your body. Letting your mouth relax. You can imagine that your whole body is like one big giant lung, and you're just breathing into your whole body. So as we begin class, as we start by bringing awareness and just feeling internally, we're going to be bringing awareness to this space of the psoas muscle again, but with a slightly different understanding that this area of our psoas muscle, which is this area of the lower back, and as the psoas muscles attach to your lower back, they go across your pelvis, or the muscle doesn't attach to your pelvic bones. It goes across the pelvic bones and it connects to your inner thigh. So on right and left side, you have these two muscles. And often these muscles are also not only physically really hard workers, that they do leg flexion. They lift your leg up, like you bend your knee, you lift it up. If you were really marching, you'd lift your knees up one at a time. But it's also part of this muscular area that when we experience something where we suddenly tense up, that in the belly we tense up, and it's the psoas that can stay suddenly really tight. So when we know this, we can also see how the muscle can also stay really tight. And this is how the psoas muscle then can hold this tension, and all of a sudden we're really frozen, and it's hard to become unfrozen. So as we learn about this connection to stress or fear or trauma, this can help us to actually have more of a healthy response to stressors in our life, to when we feel fear. And this can even heal these deep traumas that are held in our bodies. So since we are all in this position of, unknown factors that are swirling around us, I thought it would be good to just make sure that we're freeing up any tension and this deep tension that is held in this really large muscle in our body. And that way we can really move kind of fluidly with wisdom in our daily life. Why don't we do this? Why don't we just let go of seated pose, and we'll just start right in child pose. Okay? So in child pose, the psoas muscle is passive. So go ahead back to your mat and take yourself right into child position. So in child pose, you are in really deep flexion in your hips. But it's a passive flexion. You should take your knees really wide apart in this beginning variation and kind of snuggle into this. And one thing that is usually felt in a child pose is that your lower back really gets elongated and stretched. The psoas muscle, if it's tight, it's going to compress the lower back. It's going to kind of pull those lower back vertebrae like an accordion. It would just kind of pull them together. So child pose, we just start by giving the lower back space. Position your arms, your elbows in any way. You might notice how the belly really hangs here. The belly is just kind of relaxing down. And then as you come up, we're going to just switch. So we're going to take this wide variety of positions and doing both the work and just the exploration of this area of lower back down through the inner legs. So when you lay down here, you're going to go ahead and recline on your back. And we're going to do a pretty common action that we sometimes do in my classes where your knees are bent, your feet are on the floor, and you just drop your arms out to the sides here. And then we'll just take the right leg and we're going to extend the right leg against the floor. And as you do this, slightly turn the foot out to the side and just start to feel. You might contract your navel a little bit, contract your lower abs, and just feel like that front of the right hip kind of stretching a little bit. And then just switch. Bring right foot to the floor, extend that left leg out. Let the foot point out to the side a little bit. And then as you switch, as you extend the right leg, go ahead and reach your arms up above your head. And you might notice the difference here. So I found with Psoas work that really engaging up all the way up, even up through your arms, really matters to get into that, that feeling of the stretch, not only in front of your right hip, but also along the lower back, that right side of your lower back. And then switch, just taking that right foot to the floor and then the left leg extending. You might really reach up through your spine. Like pull your navel up here. Create that elongation and stretch deep in the lower back. Now, as you let this go, both feet on the floor, take your hands behind your head. And then you're going to lift your head up and start to just look at your knees. And then just pull your right knee in towards your chest. Really pull it in. And then just switch. The right foot comes down, left knee pulls into the chest. Now this is that left psoas is contracting to do this. And then as you switch again, pull right knee in. This time lengthen the left leg. So this whole time I'm aiming my elbows toward that knee, that right knee. And then you're going to switch. Just bring left knee in, extend the right leg. So you're pulling that knee, that left knee into the left chest. And now as you switch again, you bring right knee in, extend the left leg, and then reach the arms above the head. So now you're laying back down, head is down. So we're just playing with this kind of variety. And then as you switch legs here, you're pulling the left knee in, and you're not assisting, like you're not using your hands to pull the knee in. Breathe. We'll do this one more back and forth. The right knee pulls into the chest, left leg extends. And then right leg extends, left knee pulls into the chest. So you might really notice that kind of heating up, warming up of this specifically hip flexor of the psoas. So go ahead and bend both knees and just roll on over to the side and bring yourself up to all fours. Now on all fours, we are going to just let this kind of roll through the spine. We're going to take a few of those cat and cow movements. So just to kind of integrate this a little bit, just get that whole spine moving. Now this action really is mostly your back muscles and the whole length of your abdominal muscles here working back and forth. And then the toes tuck under. You start to move towards down dog, but walk the feet way back. Take a really long dog. Slightly bend your knees and reach your hips back so that you are lengthening your lower back. So that decompressing through the lower lumbar vertebra. And then just lightly touch the knees down. And as you do that, you're going to come right up onto your knees. So one thing in this position is that I like to point out, this is a good pose to even get to know, like, do you have a tight psoas? So one telltale is that since your knees are bent here, just to see if you naturally feel like you want to arch your lower back. So I know that I do want to a little bit here. Like you can kind of see that my lower back is arched. But I could also like lift my front hip bones. And once I do that, like once I engage, you can see that I've got a much more level pelvis. Tailbone is dropping down. And I can actually feel the front of the hips now. You're going to reach your arms up here. And just get a feeling of that. So even by the end of this class, you might get to know the difference between your psoas muscle and your quad muscles. So let's take the right foot and just step it forward and bring the arms back down. And focusing now on the left side of the body. So we're getting that lift of the navel, the dropping of the tailbone, and then we can reach both arms up again. Just feel the effort of this where you're really nice and tall. Let's take the right hand down to right thigh and do even, so two little actions. You're going to take your left foot a little bit out to the left. Just let it swing out to the left slightly. And then really lift your ribs and reach that left arm just slightly up and over to the right. And you might suddenly, that whole stretch might really shift. It might reveal or that deep stretch deep along the lower section of your lumbar on the left side, getting a nice big stretch. But you do have to engage the lift of the navel here. So just switch, bring left arm down And that right knee back down, and then that left foot comes forward. So instead of kind of just, here I am again, kind of arching my back, I'm going to lift up the front, the hip bones lifting up. I'm going to take my right foot just a little bit out to the right. Keep lifting the navel and then just reach your right arm up. Grounding down and take this a little bit up and over like you're really lifting your right ribs up. A slight side stretch. So if your rib cage is pulling up, that is going to then lengthen your lumbar and really pull on that psoas. It's a really nice way of just an initial stretch here, and then as you let go. So as you let go of this, we'll be going back and forth, really working the psoas and then just getting a nice stretch. So back to all fours here. And in a way, this is one action a little similar from last week, but a little different. So you are now in a more of a flat back position, and you're just going to pull the right knee forward a little bit, as if you were bringing the knee into the chest. But you can't do a rounded back here. So you keep the chest reaching forward. And then as you start to let go of this, you're just going to reach the knee back. You're going to lift that right thigh up, but your knee is bent. Reach the knee back, lift that thigh up, and try not to let the belly sag down here. So you lift up through your arms, lift your chest, and then just pull that right knee forward again towards the chest, attempting not to really start to round the back. And then the knee reaching back again as you lift that right thigh straight up. Maybe like sole of your foot is pointing towards the ceiling. And then just bringing that right knee down, the left leg pulls into the chest. Or left knee. Feel that deep, deep flexion in that left hip. The chest reaching forward rather than like sinking your heart in. Stays nice and open. And then you start to lift that left leg up. As it lifts, sole of the foot pointing to the ceiling. And you're not sinking down here at all. You're straight arms, lift the belly. As if your left knee was reaching back and your chest or your collarbones are reaching forward. Again, pull the knee into the chest. So it's a real isolated action. Deep in the hip. And then that leg goes back. And you lift the thigh up. Get that thigh bone lifted up. And then do not arch. So I know I have to really work to lift the underbelly. Good. Now, as you let that go, that also, what you were just doing, that really works the hamstrings. So let's go ahead to down dog, briefly get a nice little hamstring stretch. Straighten the arms, straighten the legs here. Giving this just a bit more space. The feet wider apart. The feet are stepping back further. Feel like the wagging of your tail, like reach your right hip back a little bit more and then reach your left hip back a little bit more and do that back and forth just so the sides of the spine, just get a little movement here. And then just walk forward and come all the way up to standing. So as you come up to standing, we could just do like briefly now, instead of on your knees, just noticing your pelvic tilt here. So if you gave a little space between the feet and then really tuck your tailbone under. Just standing, just right here. Like right now, I'm really working to just scoop my tailbone under. And then let the tailbone kind of untuck. And then really scoop your tailbone under. So just getting to know that feeling, and then a little untucking. So for a lot of people, like, you might have that tendency of having either a little more arch of your lower back or having just that real flat lower back. You know, for some people, lower back is just really flat. It's hard to get it to curve. Arms come down, and then let's go ahead and balance on the right leg. Keep your left toes down for a moment and straighten that right leg a lot. And then start to lift the left knee up. Even take your left hand on top of your thigh and kind of push your thigh down as you try to lift it up. Stay tall and really breathe here. Don't hold your breath. And then go ahead and explore the other side. So that left foot comes down. And as you shift weight, you might keep your right toes down just for a moment to really establish, because we really need that lift up out of the hip here. So you're not sinking down at all. If you're sinking down, that's the same action of the tight psoas, kind of pulling your spine down. So we need that big lift, the ribs up. And then once you establish that lift, you start to bring your right knee up. You stay tall, ribs lifting, and just place right hand on top of that thigh. Almost like you're trying to resist here. You push the thigh down even just a little bit, and then you try to lift the knee up. While breathing, release down. Just pause. Now I'm going to invite you to go over to a wall for a moment, because I want to point out how this psoas, that part of it, is that side stretch, that side to side, because a tight psoas, it can really, if it's imbalanced, it can kind of pull us to one side, and that can create a lot of pain from imbalance. So let's just stand near a wall. I have my left side near the wall, so I can bring my right arm up. Ground your feet. Just lift your navel up here. And then just reach up and over until you touch. Your fingers actually very lightly touch the wall. Now try not to, you don't need to really push this to the max. Like, I could step away from the wall and then go to a giant side stretch. But let this be just moderate, so you're also focusing on the lift up of the ribs and the lifting up of the front hip bones. And get a feeling of that grounding down through the legs, possibly feeling the side of the lumbar stretching. And as you let go, that right arm comes down. Switching, ground in the feet. Get as tall as you can get, and then that left arm comes up. But get the pull, the lifting up here, even almost physically. Hoist your ribs up. And then the arm, as it reaches over, hopefully, those left fingers like pretty easily touch the wall. If it's not easy, you get closer to the wall. So a moderate pose, and focus on the lift up of the ribs here. Breathe, and you're just getting to know your lower back curve. And releasing, just bringing that left arm down. Go ahead back to your mat. And let's just play as yogis. We're going to just do our sun salutations here with a little variation. We're going to start with palms together in front of the heart. Just ground your feet. Practice like that awareness of pelvic tilt. Standing tall, and then reach the arms up. Now, as you reach your arms up, just a simple observation here of the grounding down, the reaching up, that results in that mid-body, that whole pelvic awareness of space, almost attraction here. And then keep your right foot where it is and just step the left leg back. And as you step back, you are in your big crescent pose here. Important then to straighten the back leg. There's that stretch of the psoas, the left side. Notice the difference when you take your right hand down onto your right thigh. And really reach up through the left side. Let that left arm go a little up and over to your right. It's a small action, but that might move right into the psoas. And then as we let go, both arms come down. We're just going to go back to down dog. So in down dog, even though it's hip flexion, it's not real deep or aggressive hip flexion. As you move to your plank pose, pause, and then right onto your belly. So as you lower down here, now this is very important that when you reach your legs back, we'll lift up to Sphinx Pose, because what is important here, and which is easier to do in Sphinx Pose, is to kind of tuck your tailbone. As you pull your tailbone in, like lift your navel up. You can feel that lift of the navel. So that the flexion, the extension in your hips here is in your hips. That it's not crushing your lower back. So a lot of the back bend is the extension in your hips. Reach your chest forward. So make sure you really can lift your ribs up. You can lift your navel up here. If you have a really tight psoas muscles, what will happen is it might be really hard for you to pull your tailbone down here. You might want to overarch your lower back instead. So lower partway down, take your hands back and then use your hands and lift up. And as you're lifting up here, really pull your navel up. And in order to do that, you will contract your glutes. And then just release down. Move yourself right back to down dog. Lift up. And down dog, of course, is going to release any compression from that back bending you were just doing. Lightly touch your knees down. We're going to step the right foot forward. So you're in a low lunge position. Now, with the back leg, with that left foot, the top of your left foot is down. And we're just going to briefly straighten the left leg with the top of the foot down. Reach your chest forward. And then drop the knee down again. And then do that again to straighten the back leg, lifting the knee up. And then it lightly touches down again. You know, what's really important with that back knee is that the back kneecap is not being pushed forward towards the front of the mat. You know, you can actually drag your kneecap kind of like it's lifting up your thigh. So see if you can kind of pull your kneecap back. So it's really drifting back. And then lift up here. Keeping your right hand on your knee, reach your left arm up. And then as you let that go, as both hands come back down, tuck your back foot under. Again, kind of drag the knee back and lift the back foot up. So this one's important, even if you were just to hang out here, because now this is going to move into the quad stretch of the left leg. You have the psoas stretch and the quad stretch. And then just releasing, the foot comes down. So we're going to move this right to our giant crescent pose. The back foot tucks under, you lift up, all the way up, bend, or keep that back leg straight, and then just lift the arms up. Briefly straighten the right leg, and as you straighten that right leg, hold the navel up. Really lift, and then re-bend that right knee. Continue to lift the navel. And then as the arms come down, you can just step forward. Left foot forward. Ground your heels, reach your arms up. So just that very straightforward traction, feet down, lifting of the ribs right up through the arms, and then take palms together in front of the heart. Reaching the arms up again. There's that traction. So the back of the body lengthening, the front of the body lengthening. And as you bring the arms out to the side, you step the right foot back. So you're going now to crescent on the left side. So left foot is forward. Really straighten that back leg. So you could actually feel like your inner right thigh kind of pulling back. You know, you could even take your hand like that's where the psoas is connected. And then it runs in front of the hip and across the lower back. So let's take left hand and just touch the left leg, left thigh, and reach the right arm up. And straighten the back leg again, that right leg. And then reach that right arm a little bit up and over to the left. And you might feel this kind of creates the stretch when you lift your ribs, deep in the lower back, that nice deep stretch. Breathe, feel maybe the lift of the navel really brings it in. Ah. Now, as you let this go, hands just come down. You go back to your downward facing dog. Wide, wide dog. Breathe. Feel like extra space in your dog. Not extremely concerned with deep flexion. More of just space to the lower back. Wag your tail a little bit. Slight bend of your knees. Moving now to your plank. So the active plank pose elongates the psoas. Lower down. As you lower down, reach the legs back. So in general, our back bend, any back bend that we do here, is going to have an effect on the psoas, but we need to make sure it is not just compressing your lower back even more. So extend way back through the legs. Reach the chest forward. And then I like to lower a little bit down here. So I'm in a partial cobra pose. And then lengthen and lift the legs. Bend both knees. As they bend, lift your thighs up. Maybe reach back to your feet. So as you lift your thighs up, this is really a great one for making sure that this isn't just lower back compression, because you are lifting your thighs up. If you're lifting your thighs up, you know that there's the leg extension where the legs are behind you. As you're lifting your thighs up, make sure that your knees don't really fly apart here. Chest is forward. As you release, re-extend the legs. Keep the thighs lifted. Even go back to a little Sphinx position here, where you can really pull your ribs forward. As you let go, moving to your down dog. And then just lightly letting the knees touch down. And take the left foot stepping forward. So with the left foot forward, you're in that low lunge position. The right thigh will drop down. You could bring awareness to that kneecap right away. That the position of your kneecap, that it's not being pushed forward. It's not like being pulled up your thigh. It's kind of dragging back a little bit. The top of the right foot is down, and then straighten the right leg. So it actually lifts the knee away from the floor. Lower back down. And just playing with that action. Really straighten the leg. Lift the knee away from the floor. Breathing lightly. So now be aware of that kneecap position. So as you come up, as you lift away from the floor, as you come up here, lift the pelvic floor, and then just reach that right arm up. That helps, that kind of updraft, going up through the spine. And then as that hand comes down, you tuck the back toes under. And now we go up to our crescent pose. So we lift up. Take your time because you want to stay really grounded. Start to lift the ribs as you stay connected. And just reach up, arms. Take that left hand back to left thigh. Reach up through that right arm. Little side stretch here. Lift. Straighten the left leg for a moment. I kind of forgot that part. Really straighten. As you straighten the left leg, pull the navel up even more. And keep it lifted as you re-bend that left knee. And then as the arms come down, stepping forward. So as you step forward, grounding, arms go straight up. It's really neutral stance here. Palms together in front of the heart. Good. Now as you bring your arms down, we're going to take the feet and move wide apart. So definitely poses that we didn't do last week, which are good to see how they fit in and how a lot of the Psoas awareness is in every pose. But we're going to move into standing poses on the right side where you're going to take your right foot and let's see, I'll mirror you here. So your right foot goes out to your right and then your left foot moves in. So as you bend that right knee and really straighten the left leg, you might notice there's sensations like in front of the hips here. And those sensations really occur when you what? You like lift your navel up, you lift your ribs up. So let's go to side angle for a moment. You actually lean out to your right. You can start with just your hand on your thigh. Draw the navel in, straighten that left leg. Draw the navel in. So we're creating that big opening and stretch in front of the left hip. And then maybe that right forearm drops down. Stay with that effort, navel in. Now when you reach that left arm, ground the outer left foot, reach through fingertips, draw the navel in to get right into that psoas area. So it's a real specific intentional action in the pose, which sometimes we might overlook. Good, come up. Just push down to come up. And we'll go to the other side. So switch the feet, pointing that left foot to the left, right toes in. You could start with bend of left knee, but as soon as it's bending, you're straightening the right leg. We need to stay aware of that firm straightening and then the hoist up of the pelvic floor as you lean out to the left. Again, you might just have a hand. So you can focus on the lift of the ribs. So lots of space there. Reaching that left knee to the left. So all sorts of awareness of the groinal area in this pose. Maybe forearm dropping down, and as you reach that right arm, feel the outer right foot grounding. The lift of the hip bones, they lift up, navel lifts. So you're creating all this space in the area of the pelvis. Breathe. Good, and then you come up, you push into your feet, and you come all the way up. Toes forward. Even take your toes a little bit pointing in and move to a great big forward bend here. Now, if you were to lift part way up and really reach your chest forward and feel that deep flexion in your hips. That is a little more of psoas work. Rather than rounding your back here. So untuck your tailbone as you're here. Deepen the flexion in your hips as if you could take your belly towards your thighs as you move deeper into this. Let yourself fold all the way over. And come all the way up. Pushing into the feet. And as you come up, we're going to take Warrior 2 to the right side with that same awareness of this whole section of psoas. So your right foot opens to the right, left toes point in. So go ahead and bend right knee, straighten fiercely that left leg. So that completeness of the effort really matters in this deep area. Lift the ribs up, extend the arms, reach the arms out. Balance. And imagine this space along like left side, left front of the hip really opening. Ribs lifting. Now briefly go back to your side angle, Parsvakonasana, letting that forearm drop down. And as you reach that left arm, even let your left arm kind of drape alongside your head, like you were pointing your fingers to the floor. Draw the navel in, ribs lift up, getting into that psoas. And then just come up, just push into the feet and come all the way up. Let's do the other side. So switching the feet to your right. So keep awareness of this nice lifting up of the ribs as you bend left knee, fiercely straighten right leg. Lift the pelvic floor. It's like the whole time we're reminding ourselves to decompress through the spine, extend the arms. Breathing, feeling here. All the space in the pelvis, lower back. Straighten that right leg. And then keep the lift of the navel as you go over to the left, as you drop that forearm down. And as you reach your right arm alongside your head, even let it slightly drape and point your fingers down. Straighten right leg. Navel in, lift the ribs. Legs, kind of breathing deep into the belly. And then come up, push into the feet all the way up. Toes forward. So as we go to our Prasarita Padottanasana here again, get into this contracting of the psoas. So you might even be kind of flat back as you go over. Untuck your tailbone. Feel that deep contracting now in the hips. As if you could take your belly towards your thighs. Then head drops. Lift up part way. Move into kind of a cow pose here, into a back bend. Draw your spine in as you go to your forward bend again. And coming up. Pushing into the feet, really strong as you come up here. Make sure tailbone dropping down. Take feet a little bit closer together. Drop your tailbone. Really lift up from pubic bone. Lift all the way up now as you reach your arms up. That very basic kind of traction. Ribs straight up. Good. And then arms come down. Stepping your feet together. Just notice here, legs together. So as we move just back down onto the floor, we're going to move onto the belly, and we are going to get a little deeper into the quads. I think I'm just remembering we didn't do that quad stretch of the right thigh. We're just going to throw that right in for a moment because it really does just take us right into what we're going to do. So low lunge, left foot steps forward, and just drop that right thigh down. And then start to tuck the right toes under, getting right kneecap really comfortable. Kind of dragging it back rather than forward. And then you could even lift up here. As you lift up, lift that back foot up. You might reach the right arm up here. Play with the position here. You can keep the toes down if you want to. For some people, reaching back and grabbing the foot actually feels like a really good stretch. But make sure if you grab your foot back there that you do not want to just arch your lower back. You don't want suddenly that psoas to tighten up. So we'll release down out of this because we're going to go into a slightly similar stretch into our frog pose. So you're going to move onto your belly here. Really extend the legs back. So the only thing about frog pose is for some people, you might actually use a strap for this pose. And most of my classes are kind of prop free, but this one, so we'll just see. You're going to take your left arm and have your left arm forward, like your left forearm is right in front of you. And you could stay rather low down here as you bend the right knee and bring that foot in toward your butt. Reach back and grab that right foot. Now, as you do that, notice if you suddenly arched your lower back. So you have to put forth effort to flatten the hip creases right at the very top of your thighs. Dropping your tailbone. You might even lift and kind of slide your navel ribs forward. So there's engagement. Like your glutes will work a bit here to drop your tailbone down. Keep drawing this right foot in towards your butt and reach the right knee way back. So because your right knee is so deeply flexed, really deep bend of the knee, this stretch turns into more of a quad stretch. But I do believe it's so interconnected That lower back pain can also be because of tight quad muscles, specifically the rectus femoris. You can stay lifted up. You could even drop your head down. Breathe, just feel this. Yes, it is a good one to stay in this for a while because quad muscles are very large muscles that take a while. It's just from my experience that staying here for a while is very wise. Slowly letting go. And let's go ahead and switch. So we take the right arm, the right forearm forward in front of you. And maybe make sure to re-extend your legs back again. And then bend your left knee. So when you bend your left knee, notice if your pelvis floats up. So that could be tight psoas. But you might feel here as you bring the foot into the butt, if that's really difficult, just the flexion. If this pose is really hard, it could be more of the quads issue. So reaching back to your foot, draw the foot in towards the butt. Really important to drop your tailbone down. This is going to be a contracting around the glutes, the flattening of the hip creases, and reaching back, directly back through your left knee. Breathing, feeling. You might place your head down on your forearm, but make sure you are dropping the pubic bone, dropping the tailbone down. In a way, these poses, they can be a lot of sensation. So the breathing is so important that we take these nice, deep, deep, full body breaths. And then just gradually releasing, letting this go. And just using your hands, you're going to lift yourself right up here. Just move on to all fours, and let's just do that really little cat and cow. Just just a little fluid movement. While you're doing cat and cow, if it feels like you just need to go back towards a child pose, you can do that. If it feels good through your spine, follow that intuition. So you could do child and cat and cow just to get this fluidity. And then making sure knees have a little space apart here. We'll just take that right hand and just reach it forward and over to the left. And then hips go back. Your left forearm drops down here. So here's that side stretch again as you reach your right hip back. And then as you come up, we'll just take that right hand back and just let that left hand reach forward a little over towards the right. Yeah, just follow kind of intuition here as you drop your right forearm down. Really just breathing, feeling, reaching that left hip back. Yeah, as you come up, you just take yourself right onto your back. So as you roll onto your back, um, take the arms right out to the sides. So you're going to lift your feet a little bit away from the floor and just hug the legs together, just keeping the legs together, and drop your legs over to the right side. So as they drop over to the right, you're naturally going to move into a twist. Breathe and feel your way into this twist. Just reach across the arms, across the chest. Breathe to your belly. Maybe the head rolls to look a little to your left. And then just reposition your head so you're looking straight up towards the ceiling. Now just lift your top left leg. Roll onto your back. And then the left leg drops over towards the left. And then the right leg just gradually follows up and over. And into your twist, just kind of shift, wiggle a little bit. And just feel this easy twist. Deep breath. And then just moving your head so you're facing the ceiling. That top right leg lifts up. And just as you roll onto your back here. Just grab a hold of your knees and just start to circle your knees around in any way so you're kind of rolling around on your lower back. Ah. And then just let your feet drop right down to the mat. And as they do this, adjust your lower back. Feeling that kind of pull of your tailbone down to lengthen your lower back. Just take your hands actually on your lower pelvis around your hip creases. As you start to let your knees drop out to the side, take the soles of your feet together. And you might take your hands and just kind of softly with like your fingers, just press around kind of inner groin area. It's like softly just pressing around this area that did a lot of work. Now you're going to be moving towards Shavasana. So if you want to stay here for a minute or so, do so. Really let the body just do whatever it wants to as you gradually move towards stillness. Feel free to roll to one side, grab a blanket, cover up, stay cozy and warm. So you're knowing, I'm going to be moving into stillness. After doing this particular work, one suggestion also is to, if you have a blanket or some pillows, you could drape your legs over something. So there's just, more of a gentle position in the hips. So if that makes sense to prepare in that way, you can. Letting the eyes close. Very clear, like I'm moving into stillness now. Feeling the bones, as if you could sense that the bones are actually descending and dropping, and the joints, like imagine every joint in your body just releasing. You might feel this kind of slack feeling. And of course, this can take a while. So bring awareness to your forehead. Feel that space at your forehead soft. Soft. And like the eyeballs, the space around your brain quiets. Sensing the lips. There's no effort. Your jaw. So you're aware of your throat. Like you could actually imagine your throat and just moving right down to your stomach. Aware of your stomach, your awareness just kind of wandering into your belly. And if it feels okay, you could, if you want to, take one hand and just in a circular action, just kind of rub your belly. At the same time, little soft waves of breath to your belly. Way down to the pelvis. Feel the weight of the legs. So important to just connect with nature. That timeless connection. It's only now, this moment, feeling the aliveness. And just maybe following just that sense of being alive, the movement, moving, transitioning if you feel ready, waking up, that strength right around the spine as you transition to seated pose. Be good to connect with the heart space, the softness of your throat now as we take palms together in front of the heart, and may this sound of Om really just loosen our unique voice, and that we're just free. Our voice is free. We can speak our true essence. Let's close with Om. Deep inhale. Om. Deep, deep gratitude. Thank you so much for practicing, for taking time, doing this work. Really, the world just thanks you for taking this time to reconnect. It's how it works. Um, so today is Tuesday, and this week there will be class. So I'm holding classes on Wednesday morning now, 7 a.m., 7 to 7:30, and then in the afternoon, Wednesday afternoon, 4 to 4:30. Now those are Zoom links, so you do have to contact me, Nancy at boleryoga.com, BOLER yoga.com, and just say, hey, I would love those Zoom links. And then Friday morning, we're back here on the YouTube channel. And Saturday morning is from 9 a.m. to 11. That one too. You could contact me if you're interested in doing that 2-hour class. So have a beautiful rest of your evening and a wonderful practice until I see you again.